Hello and welcome to the video. Now this is the latest addition to my garage and it's an RC 4-wheel drive Trailfinder 2 Mojave or Toyota Hilux. This is the RC that I've wanted since I first got into the hobby. Now this is a used RC. It was built from a kit by the previous owner some years ago, and for the past year it hasn't been used, so he decided to sell it. As soon as I saw it, I decided to buy it. The first thing that attracted me to it was the weathered body. I think it looks absolutely brilliant. Now I've done some work to it, and one of the things I've done is put some warm white LEDs in the headlamps, and I've put some bright white 3mm LEDs in the chrome bumper. The other thing I've done is put a metal winch on the bumper. Now I'm not a fan of this bumper. To me it looks like a shopping trolley, and I couldn't find a small child to sit in it, so I've used the winch that I had in my spares box instead. This is a view of the back. Fantastic weathering on the tailgate, and also LEDs in the rear lights too. It also came with a driver, and this is a Tamiya Bruiser driver. It also has a full interior. This isn't the official RC 4-wheel drive interior. It is in fact the Tamiya Bruiser interior. Right, back to the body, and as you can see the rear bed is weathered and looks absolutely fantastic. To me that actually looks like a metal bed. The paintwork is brilliant on this, it really is. The other thing it came with are these Nitrocharger Sport Old Man Emu internal spring shocks. Now I don't know a lot about these shocks. I know they're not standard with the kit or the ready to run, but they look really nice. The other thing I've done is bought the official RC 4-wheel drive front inner fender set for the Mojave stroke Hilux body, as you can see on the label there. And this is how you get them. So I cut them out and I screwed it to the chassis to make sure everything was okay, and popped the body on top to check that was okay too, and gave them 3 coats of black paint. And this is a photo of one finished and screwed on the chassis. Now RC 4-wheel drive, as far as I'm aware, don't do rear inner fenders. I certainly couldn't find any, so I made my own using a ready meal tub. This particular ready meal was a Heinz Weight Watchers salmon and broccoli melt, available from all good supermarkets. And I just pushed it inside the arch of the bed, and as you can see the radius is pretty spot on for the rear arch. And then I just cut across the tub, and you can just about see the chassis rail through the plastic there, and I drew a line along that. And I cut along that line and I punched 2 holes in it with a body reamer and screwed it back on the chassis, and as you can see it looks brilliant. And then I just did the same for the other side. Now seeing as it's coloured plastic and not transparent, it's best to spray both sides, so this is just the first coat and I did another 2 coats to finish it off. Now one of the mods that this came with is called the drop motor mod. Now that means that the motor has been moved around from a high position down to a lower position in the chassis. Now in theory that sounds great, lower centre of gravity. However, it really limited the suspension travel. This is a photo of it with the axle removed, and you can see just how low that motor sits in the chassis. This is an official photo of the TF2 chassis, and you can see that the motor actually sits up a lot higher than that in its stock position. So I decided to put mine back to stock and get some more suspension travel. I took out the transmission and I removed the motor plate, and then I undid the lock nut and removed the spring from the slipper clutch, and then undid the 3 screws that hold on the spur gear. And that exposes the 3 screws that fix the main part of the motor mounting bracket to the transmission case. So now you can remove those 3 screws and you can turn the bracket round so the motor is at the top again. Now I did all this and forgot to take photographs, but this is it finished, and as you can see the motor is now back in its stock position. So to recap, this was the old position and this is back to the stock position. So we'll have a look at the chassis, and it came with a HBI 35 turn brushed crawler motor, a Hobbywing 1080 waterproof ESC with 2 program cards, which is very handy. The servo it came with was a Tower Pro 995 MG servo, so I've changed it for a Turnigy TGY 1501 metal geared servo, and that's a 15.5 kilo torque servo. The other thing I did forget to mention is it's a 2-speed transmission. I don't know what the gear change servo is because it hasn't got any labels or markings on it, but it works and that's good enough for me. And the last thing to mention about this photo is you can see I fitted the inner fenders. Okay, on to the next mod that I've done. Now this is called the leaf spring O-ring mod, and for this you need 16 3mm O-rings, and I bought a couple of packs of Tamiya ones. So this is the O-ring mod finished. It's a simple process. All you do is undo the nuts on top of the axle, take off the leaf springs, slide a couple of O-rings down the screws so they sit on top of the axle, replace the leaf springs, and then slide another couple of O-rings down the screw on top of the leaf springs, and then tighten those down with your M3 nylock nuts. Now the reason for this mod is to cushion those leaf springs between the O-rings to enable them to have a little sideways flex. You're never going to get the leaf spring suspension to perform like an axial, for instance, and that's not the point of this mod. The point of this mod is just to give it a small amount of flex, because the stock setup is very stiff. So there we are. This is it finished, and you can see the inner fenders there, and I'm particularly pleased with those rear ones. I think they look great. And the only thing left to do is to give it a run. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon.